Ernst Haeckel, and sometime back in the 1800s, I think it was 1850s, put forth a series of drawings in which he had fudged, manipulated the drawings, and they were drawings of embryos. His argument was that phylogeny recapitulates, no, ontology recapitulates phylogeny, which is a statement that the similarity in appearance of the embryonic stages of various organisms is evidence of evolution. And he said that the gill slits, they call them gill slits, these are protrusions along the neck of the human embryo, for example, was evidence of gill slits, leftovers from evolution when man was a fish.
Man was a fish? Speak for yourself. Of course, along with every other type of vertebrate, the evidence does support fish as a long ago common ancestor.
Of course, he was discredited, and because it was demonstrated that he had fudged these drawings.
He was discredited, but by scientists, not creationists. And of course, evolution wasn't discredited itself, and 150 years later still hasn't been.
And these were not gill slits. Actually, what they become is one of them becomes the jaw, and another becomes the voice box in human beings. See? So that was a lie. But anyway, his drawings were discredited, and he was retired in shame.
He did enhance them, but you make it seem like they were 100% fabricated. He was discredited, but embryology wasn't.
But this lie of ontology recapitulates phylogeny is still being passed around, and you'll find.
No, it's not. That's not true. It seems you're missing the point, as per usual. The misrepresentation of embryology 150 years ago does not negate embryology today, especially in light of evolution. How desperate you must be to have to go back 150 years.
Now, Kenneth Miller brings up, Dr. Behe brings this up, that this is in Kenneth Miller's book, his biology book for high school students, and asks him about it. Kenneth Miller says, you know what, we've fixed the problem. Letters to the editor to fix that are off in the mail. But did they fix it? No, they didn't fix it. What they did was they put accurate drawings of the same of the embryonic stages of organisms in there.
Oh no, not accurate drawings. How devious. But just what you've been asking for.
But the problem is not the drawings in this case. The problem is the idea. You see.
No. The idea is the same. It's only the drawings that have been changed, forcing you to magic up a new straw man.
This idea, phylogeny recapitulates ontology, is still being pumped into the minds of people today, and it's a lie.
It is indeed a lie. Tell you what, and so is ontology recapitulates phylogeny, which is what you really meant to say. Remember? You made the same mistake a little earlier, but in a stutter you corrected it.
And the problem is that the way the evolutionists are dishonest with this and misrepresent things is that they use embryonic stages of various organisms that are at different stages in their development. For example, they'll show a human embryo at X number of weeks, and a chicken embryo at a wholly different week into the embryonic development.
What else would you expect when they have such vastly different gestation periods? You really need to think before you speak.
And another organism at a different week in embryonic development, you see. And they pick the ones that they think look the most similar so they can make this visual similarity and line them up. Say, see, that's not honest. If they used images of embryos at the same point in development, that would be honest. But they're not honest, you see. They pick and choose which ones to put in there.
Don't you think the fact that there are any similarities at all, let alone many, is a big problem for design? I do.
And anyway, phylogeny is not evidence of evolution. This is a complete lie. Genetic similarities and pseudogenes, retroviruses, all these things, they are not in the slightest way evidence of evolution.
Well, ERVs do nothing but support evolution, and so-called junk DNA, while a surprise, does not discredit it. And regards redundant genes that have been switched off, for want of a better phrase, are these the result of design? How can you possibly make such a claim with a straight face?
But I want you to see the dishonesty of Mr. Miller when it comes to this idea. What he puts together in sharing this supposed information in his book. He says he fixes the problem, but he doesn't fix anything. He leaves it in. He just they put accurate drawings in.
Yes, damn it, accurate drawings. God forbid that creationists should be exposed to accuracy. Still, you can always carry on whinging on about some 150-year-old drawings in your desperation.
Isn't it funny that this fraud has been known for 100-some-odd years? In his original copy of the textbook, he had the original drawings of Haeckel in there.
Nothing wrong in that, as long as they're highlighted as part of history and not true representations. Dr. Miller has obviously replaced these in order to remove any ambiguity. The actions of an honest man. I have a book on weather. It highlights how ancients believed thunder was the gods being angry. It's history, that's all.
And so he fixes the problem by putting accurate drawings in there of organisms of different phylum.
Oh, Nephi, you do score some own goals. Check out the meaning of phylum. All stages in the embryonic drawings are of a single phylum, i.e. the chordate phylum. Perhaps you meant class, but in no way can we associate you with class.
At different stages in their embryonic development, to create a visual similarity. See, because for evolutionists it's all about visual similarity. That's one of the reasons they claim humans and apes have a common ancestors, because they have certain visual similarity, you see.
They do, and it is more than coincidence that visual similarity is backed up by genetic similarity, yet genomes are not visible. What follows is a brief extract from Neph's video of Dr. Miller versus Michael Behe way back in 1997. Oh well, I suppose 1997 is more current than Haeckel's time. Since then, of course, Miller has completely demolished Behe at the Dover trial.
Ken, in my introductory remarks, I showed a picture of Haeckel's embryos, those little drawings of embryos looking the same and gradually turning into different
Indeed you did, and I'm going to give you a hand because the picture that you have right here, I have brought an enlarged copy for just to help you out.
Okay, thanks very much.
Anything I can do.
And
Anyhow, let's look at some embryology, much of which is based upon Jerry Coyne's superb Why Evolution is True. Nobody today supports a recapitulation theory which suggests the embryo goes through all the stages of our evolutionary ancestors, even if Haeckel may have thought so. The embryology sequence is far more subtle than Neph's simplistic straw man. Mind you, when you look at the ontology and phylogeny, then I think ID could only stand for impossible design. In its early stages, a human embryo and that of a fish are remarkably similar, with the human embryo having a tail of all things. But we shouldn't refer to the embryos as having gill slits. Vertebrate embryos have 5 to 7 pouches, separated by grooves. These pouches, or branchial arches, are not gills, even in the early stages of fish embryos. In fish, apart from the first one, which becomes the jaw, these arches do eventually become gills. Now, each arch contains tissues that eventually develop into muscles, nerves, blood vessels, or bone or cartilage. Let's consider the circulatory system, for example. Our initial fish-like system turns into something similar to that of an amphibian embryo. In amphibians, the embryonic vessels turn directly into adult vessels, but ours continue to change further into a system similar to that of an embryonic reptile. Again, in reptiles, the system develops into an adult system, but in mammals, further changes are added to the embryo, turning it into a true mammalian circulatory system. Why would any creator bother to have such a sequence of events in the vertebrate circulatory system? For all those desperate cries of common design, then why don't invertebrate embryos go through the same sequence? Well, the harsh truth is that embryonic development can only make sense in light of evolution. So let's banish any creationist misconceptions on embryology with some basic observations. We're dealing with embryonic stages, similar to embryonic stages of other classes, as opposed to adult stages of other classes. Nobody, especially Dr. Miller, is claiming that our embryonic development is a complete record of our ancestral history. It clearly is not, and under evolutionary principles would be nigh on impossible. The slits in a human embryo are not gill slits. In fish, the slits become gills, and other things and other vertebrate life forms, with a sequential development according to the class of organism. Although by no means an exact copy, we clearly see similarities in a human embryo to those of the various stages of fish, amphibians, reptiles, and other mammals, and we observe a sequence which, unsurprisingly, follows the progression of the fossil record, which clearly shows jawed fishes appearing before amphibians, which appeared before reptiles, which appeared before mammals. The evolutionary argument is further vindicated by certain atavisms in the human embryo, appearing and subsequently disappearing, such as the empty yolk sac and the soft covering of hair lost before birth, which ape embryos also experience but retain after birth. What sort of imbecilic designer would include such redundant steps? All this helps to explain why Neph is so desperate to find any tiny scrap to discredit evolution, and why he is forced to go all the way back to Haeckel and his enhanced drawings. By the way, just for fun, and to demonstrate the dishonesty and ignorance of creationists, here's an extract from a creationist site, Angel Fire, which outlines a quick summary of what they believe evolutionary claims to be. Of course, they would have got this through a total misinterpretation of Haeckel's drawings.